awesome panel today. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about what happened at Watches and Wonders. Be sure, as you watch the show, if you like it, share, like, subscribe, do all the things that you can to help our channel, upvote too. That's the other one, help our channel kind of move up the rankings. Tonight, we're joined by the Scottish Washes guys, and then Pete McConville, Thomas, and Mark. We're going to go through what we're currently wearing on our wrists, and then we'll get into the show. So, Ricky, you're in the hot seat, as Sam likes to say. So, what do you have on your wrist tonight?
Okay, tonight I have got on my Moser meme liner, which I explained in depth about on a podcast back just before December, which was a watch 4 years in the making, an April Fool's joke that got out of hand, and then a pandemic hit, so it never got released as a joke. Beautiful. Then it got released to me as a one of one because the Dell was just kind of sitting around in a drawer for 3 years. So that's what I've got on the wrist today.
Love it.
Very cool watch. I just saw a couple of those. I was in Vegas last week for a trade show, and those are so cool in person. Gorgeous watch.
Is that what you're calling it, Todd? A trade show? Is that what you call it? You were in Vegas for a trade show.
It's an absolute nerd fest. So not everybody knows, but I do video with NASA, and so all the NASA team from across the country all come to Vegas for the NAB, and we have a conference, and it's a trade show. Promise, I swear.
Is that where you get your VFX stuff that was used back in '69?
Yes, exactly. We here in Ohio, we like to tell people we have the landing site rooms, the studio, so we can show people what the moon looked like,
That would be the best place. That would be the best place to fake sort of a moon landing, because no one ever goes to Ohio.
And everybody tries to move out.
So you can hide things there.
All of Ohio is like Area 51. Exactly.
That's right.
Dave,
the only thing is that they can't stop people leaving.
Anyway, Dave, what do you have on your wrist?
Dave has on his Haraj Lensman 2. So that's what I'm wearing today. Oh, can you not see it? I have no idea why that is.
We see you.
That's better, Dave. Just keep it that way.
Comparing your to Nico. No idea why that's not playing. Anyway, I will go to here.
Fair enough.
Nope.
Well done.
What is? Hang on. It's weird. It's weirdly just transferred everything to my webcam, which is very strange. But anyway, there we go.
Nice. Cool.
That is a cool
watch. Yeah.
OnlyFans cam.
I have no idea why it's just transferred it all to the wrong camera. But hey, there we go.
Pete,
that's the
what are you wearing?
I have this, a 1972 Breitling Transocean.
Oh,
Very
lovely.
Cool.
Nice, cool.
That's a cool piece.
Looks a little bit like Terrahawks, little balls in Terrahawks. If you remember that.
Nope.
No? Okay. Another pop culture reference right over everybody's head. Way back to bed now.
I remember Terrahawks. Yeah.
Okay, good.
What was the name? What was the name of the evil woman?
Zelda.
Zelda, that's the one.
Yeah.
Mark, what are you wearing?
I have a, if it focuses, Citizen Chronomaster. Or Citizen, the Citizen Chronomaster.
That is a quartz watch?
This is Eco Drive, quartz, yep, and claimed to be accurate to 5 seconds a year, which isn't bad.
That'd be all right.
It's titanium, so you don't know you're wearing it. Very lovely piece.
Nice.
Cool.
Lovely.
Thomas, what are you wearing?
A new pickup I got on Friday. My new Rolex Explorer 2 Polar. Absolutely loving this watch. Absolutely loving this watch. Yeah, been after a Polar for quite a while, so really liking this one.
And that was an AD pickup, wasn't it?
It was a what?
AD.
AD pickup, yeah, my AD.
Nice one.
Yeah,
How long were you on the wait list for?
A year, but I took them. I took them 3 Watches and Wonders Rolex tote bags.
Playing the game.
I took them those on Tuesday, and I got the call on Thursday.
Strange how
Weird.
that
handed them
happens.
across, and they said, "You smell like chloroform."
So I was
And
a bit
finally-
of reverse psychology there. So like, yeah, so it worked.
Well done.
Good move.
And tonight I went budget. I'm wearing the Seiko Dress KX in blue with a Namoki Mods tapered oyster style bracelet. So we'll just call it that. All right.
Ooh.
We are. What happened to Pete? No, Dave.
Dave.
Dave just vanished.
Oh, Dave's gone.
Dave's got an
David-
OnlyFans to get to.
Only if
He's
he can
got
get
live
on the
stream
right
to do
camera.
elsewhere.
Perhaps, yeah, he's there, but says device is not connected. We'll circle back with him when he comes back. Tonight
That's
we're going to
'cause
talk
we
about
said-
watches. What?
I was going to say it's set up for doing upskirts normally, so he's just got to reconfigure it.
Well, up kilts, please.
Oh,
Well, I understand if you're wearing a kilt, if you have underwear on, you're just wearing a skirt. So it depends how he's wearing his kilt. We're going to feature a conversation from Ricky and Thomas and Dave whenever he comes back. There he is. Who are going to share their experiences at Watches and Wonders, and I'm going to try to keep up in the huge slideshow of pictures that Ricky sent over my way, and so bear with me. And Ricky, you guys just take it away.
okay, well, this was one of the big heavy-hitting items that we went to see
Yeah.
this year.
The eternal
this is from-
calendar.
Yes, this is from IWC, and something that we kind of commented upon in the 2 editions of the podcast we put out to cover Watches and Wonders, which we couldn't scratch the surface, obviously, was the fact that every year IWC don't really get massive headlines when they should, because they don't just change the bezel colour or the dial colour or the type of material used. Last year it was Ingenieur, a couple of years ago it was whatever it was, Spitfires and all the rest of it, and this year they went with this. And Dave had to do a little bit of research as we were recording the show because there was just so much packed in here. So Dave, do you want to recap all the details on this and how many millions of years are involved in the intricate technologies?
I greatly appreciate that handoff there. That was nicely done there, Ricky. Like, you can't remember, so you pretend that I'll remember.
64 million
Okay.
years, Dave. 64.
No, I think it's 45 million years. So the moon phase was one part of
45?
it
No,
where
450?
no, we thought it was 450, but it's actually 45. But you know, who's arguing about 400 million years?
45 million
So yes,
yeah.
it's 45 million years on the moon phase. I think they previously held the record at something like 1.2 million year accuracy, or 1 day within every 1.2 million years, and it's now 1 day within every 45 million years. Not that any of us will be here to see that problem. Also, in the perpetual calendar, there is a quirk of the Gregorian calendar, which is that every 400 years there is an anomaly with leap years that all perpetual calendars apparently can't deal with, but they have managed to gear this that it can deal with this once in every 400 year anomaly. And again, not that it really matters because we'll all be dead by that point anyway. And also, someone pointed out, and this is possibly the only flaw, I don't think the calendar discs actually go 400 years into the future. So even though you won't need to send the watch back to have it corrected for that leap year, you will in fact have to send it back to have the date disc updated because it doesn't have enough numbers on it. But outside that, it's a really, really cool watch. It's a big chunky boy, but the dial is amazingly cool on it because you've got, it's not a solid metal disc, it's a piece of sapphire glass, and they've effectively like kind of sandblasted or frosted the back of this piece of glass, a bit like you would see on glass you would find possibly like in a bathroom or somewhere like that, and then they've coated that in like this white silver coating, so the dial does look amazing. And the kind of edge, the rehot ring, it's almost like a little like kind of upward and downward hump on the edge. So if you look through the box crystal from the side, you can actually see the numbers through the side of the glass as well, which is, there's some lovely details on it. But yeah, it's a really cool watch.
It's a bit like
So
an
that's
HYT
not-
when you look at it from the side, the way that it kind of curves right round and you can see everything.
Yeah, it's a bit like the older HYTs with that fluid that had that kind of fluid bar around the outside of it where you could see it from every angle. It's a wee bit like that for sure. It's a good kind of comparison there, Ricky.
So what we're looking at, it's not like a silvery sheen. It's the underside of a frosted piece of glass that's had color added to it. Is that how I'm understanding
Yeah.
it?
So Yep, correct. So the whole dial is effectively a piece of sapphire glass. Back of it's frosted, and then you've got this kind of white silvery coloration applied to the back of it. But it's the picture actually doesn't do it justice. It's like a few of the watches there. It's really difficult to get a photograph of it. I think a few of the Grand Seikos were similar. Trying to get the color shift in some of the dials was really challenging, just because it's one of those things that, you know, a lens will only pick up that moment in time. This just really reacts and plays with the light. It is a cracking watch. The only downside I would say to it is it's not the most petite on your wrist, but none of their
And the
perpetual
price.
calendars are. Well,
Yeah, the price.
yes, it's punchy as hell for sure, but compared to a lot of other perpetual calendars, certainly with anything like that level of specification, you could argue it's good value. I think it's about 30-ish, just under 30 UK from memory.
155,000 US dollars.
Okay, I got that completely
Yeah.
wrong then.
You did.
So yeah, okay, so I'll take that back. Compared to other perpetual calendars, it's really expensive.
Yeah.
But it's really worth it. Star of the show for me, this one.
Yeah,
Thomas, did you
technically
have
it's
any
a
other-
tour de force.
Yeah.
Thomas, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they had quite a few different perpetual calendars on display, and not just this Eternal one. And they're all big watches. Even the handbound three-hander Portofino is a big watch. I was speaking to one of the sales managers for Switzerland at the IWC booth, and he was wearing one of the Portuguese's, and it was huge on his wrist. And he said that was the watch that made him want to get a job with IWC. And yeah, they're stunning watches. Stunning watches. I think they're gorgeous. I think they're really nice. Really nice.
Excellent. Moving on to the next picture, and I think the next picture you see in the queue is referencing another watch. Is that what the plan was, Dave? To compare this to another skeletonized watch?
No, these aren't Dave's pictures.
No?
These are my pictures, and they're in
They're
the
Ricky's
completely
pictures.
wrong order.
Yeah, Ricky. I'm sorry.
Random.
This is something for later. It was we
Later?
listed
Okay, we'll
off
come back
what
to
our
it.
favourites were, and that one there. So if you click that,
Yep.
this was my unfavourite of the show. This is
The
a
Chopard
20
Alpine Eagle. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the one you showed before, the Orient Star, skeletonized, works around about $2,000 versus this. It's about 25 grand. I think this looks atrocious for the money.
They look terrible. Awful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm
that
do
was
you
the
like-
Ricky.
loser of the show.
Now, how do you feel about the Chopard without the skeletonized works?
Pretty cool. I like the
I like it.
coloured one that came out last year, the one that we saw over in Dubai Watch Week, where it had a kind of flip paint arrangement. That was stunning, and there was a blue dial Alpine Eagle with, I think it was platinum, and it was on rubber that we got to see at the show just a week ago, and it was fantastic. This one, I just thought they mucked it up. They could have done it any other way, and it would have been better than what they've done here.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did the lucent steel one with a salmon dial, which I thought was amazing, beautiful. But this is an abomination. It's horrible.
It's a CN Sierra. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, and I think it was even cheaper. You said
I think
this is 1,800, so 2,000 US probably for the Orient Star. And
Yeah.
better looking or equal?
Well, better, I think. Could be
Better,
wrong.
yeah?
I think better.
Or is it just because the price point?
Price point?
Well, you see,
and
Okay.
just
this
ugliness of
one,
it.
this one, the Orient Star doesn't look like a skeletonized quartz movement.
Right.
Whereas the
bingo.
Chopard does look like
It's
a
not a
quartz
dial
movement.
somebody's taking a Dremel to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Chopard is that movement isn't lending itself. The architecture of that movement doesn't lend itself to skeletonizing, and they've tried to force the issue, and it's just ended up looking a bit, yeah, it doesn't look in special. Some movements maybe that have got more in the way of open bridges and things like that, you can play a bit more with those. This having that big main plate as a bridge just doesn't lend itself to being skeletonized. It just looks like they've cut holes in it where they think they can get away with it.
Mark just nailed it. That it does look like an AliExpress version of a skeletonized watch that's supposed to be a mechanical watch. So you see the quartz movement under the skeletonization.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So that's what that one was.
This one is a thing of beauty.
This
but
one,
I could be wrong.
This was something that I spotted. Excuse me, still recovering from whatever virus I picked up, and it wasn't from Dave this time. This was probably one of my favourites of the show, and it was hard to single out one in particular. But this one just blew me away. It's from Cyrus, and they're known for doing like the dice watch, where you've got two independent chronograph movements that can measure time independently. This here, everything on the dial rotates round. So you've got the twin tourbillons, you've got the crazy movement. It reminds me a little bit of the UNs that came out last year, where it doesn't look like it's a real watch. It looks like a prop because all the clever stuff is hidden, but you still get to see enough of the mechanical movement on top that it moves and it spins around. And unlike the double tourbillon that you get with Jacob & Co., where there's a really staccato movement, they don't move properly and they look kind of buggered. That one rotated perfectly, looked great, and I didn't have much time with it, but I was just blown away by it. Thought it was fantastic. Price point's a little bit punchy, in the high hundreds, but that was definitely one of the watches of the show. Plus it's black and gold, and I like that.
So this digital display of the hour stays vertical as it moves around.
Yeah,
it's extremely cool.
And the little point on the triangle tells you what the minute is. So there, it's about 5:02.
Yeah, that is a cool
that's
watch.
That's about 22 past there, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, I've been moving it
I
around
like
because
that.
I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, so I like that kind of crazy stuff, and that stuck out to me, along with other ones. Artia were displaying for the first time this year, and they had colour-changing cases. Not as in you held the case and rotated your head, but depending on the wavelength of light, if it was LED, if it was fluorescent, if it was sunlight, the case would change dramatically from clear to green to purple. So that was the other standout, but I couldn't capture it quite as well. But this one here, absolutely loved this.
Gorgeous watch. This looks like you have to explain to what's going on here.
That's a brand ambassador, a guy that I can't pronounce his name. He was on the Norcane stand. Dave, take it away. You've got a good memory.
Hey, he did it again. He can't remember. Dave knows.
Yeah, exactly. He's a brand ambassador for Norcane, and he is a tennis player, and his name is
Stan somebody.
It's Stan Wawrinka.
Stan Wawrinka. That's him.
I keep thinking of Stan Witwicky from Transformers, but it's not him.
Yeah, Stan Wawrinka, who I believe is a multiple Grand Slam champion, Olympic gold medalist, and I think he's won a couple of other things. So he's a pretty punchy tennis player, it has to be said, and he has the new bright lime green and the kind of salmon orangey colour. These ones here are his kind of signature models from the Norcane model range with the Nortec kind of carbon
That's the wild
based
one.
cases. That one is a winner.
Green.
This one looks
And the
orange in
coral
pictures,
orange.
but yeah, it looks orange in pictures, but it's definitely a more peachy, pinky, orangey colour in real life. It's not quite as punchy as the green one. The green one looks as punchy as the picture belies it. It's really good.
Again, I wasn't really a fan of these Norcanes because I'm not a skeletonized fan, and these were skeletonized sort of movements, and they reminded me a bit of the Chopard that we saw earlier.
Far better. Philistine.
To be fair, given the price, these are about $5 or $6 grand, something like that. Is that right? I think they're around about that money.
Yeah.
So they're not insane. Whereas that Alpine Eagle, I just think the problem with Alpine Eagle is with Chopard, you expect something classy and refined and kind of elegant, and it looks cheap. Whereas this is a carbon, funky sports watch with a kind of premium Swiss touch to it, so it gets away with it, I think, a lot more than a Chopard can.
Yeah.
I struggle with that price point, and this is just me when getting the carbon. I don't feel like it has the, what do you want to call the kind of watch you're going to hand down generation to generation.
Oh no, I think that I definitely say it's not that kind of watch. I think this is probably the toy watch that someone who typically spends a lot more on other watches might buy as their kind of summer beach watch, so to speak, or it's just for the younger generation who buy it as funky and don't really think too hard about if it's getting passed down or not.
So it's like a LeBron James G-Shock.
Sports players will use this,
yeah,
not just brand ambassadors, because it's got a shock absorbent system inside it that's actually quite well put together. So people do play golf and tennis with these things, and it's a bit cheaper than a Richard Mille.
Okay.
And I think it's.
So it's that
I think you're right. It's got the same vibe as something like if someone buys, an MRG, that £4,000, £5,000, G-Shock, you're never going to hand it down. It's the same kind of client base.
And you don't buy it to tell the time, as this picture demonstrates quite vividly.
Yes, it's very clear what time it is on the orange one in particular.
Yeah.
Oh, this is more
And these were
pictures
just
of
the
that other
pictures
watch.
that we got ourselves because we managed to get appointments with quite a number of the brands. One of the main problems at Watches and Wonders is the fact that they've got amazing looking booths and stands that the people know what they're talking about, but they use the cheapest lighting. So the CRI and the light quality is absolutely terrible. That's the only thing I think they can improve upon, because it's very difficult, even with raw pictures, to get good images. And then you have to revert back to the ones they provide that are usually renders, so they don't look like the real watch.
Yep.
Yeah, this reminds me of that brand BA111.
Not Elon Musk's kid.
OURD, I think it is. But
That was the flight we got home from
Excellent
Geneva.
work.
it's some French micro brand, but they did a similar one. I was hoping.
I know the one you're talking about, Thomas.
I was hoping that they had a sort of triangular shaped thing on their dial, and I was hoping they would rotate, but it just stood static on the dial. But yeah,
it has that same aesthetic to it, but obviously with this one with a lot more automation to it. Where the price in this is hidden in the fact that on a picture you can't tell what it does until you realise and you see it actually.
Until you actually see it, sure.
It's a bit like resonance watches. You sometimes see them and you think it just looks like it's a printed dial, and then when you actually play with the crown and you watch it all moving in kind of synchronicity, you suddenly think, it'll break within a week, and then it'll go back and it gets serviced. And
allegedly,
then it'll break within a week, apparently. But who would possibly know, apart from the watchmakers that work for them?
I love the resonance stand. I spent ages there looking at the divers, the Type 1s, the Type 5 diver, the Type 8.
Yeah, they are super cool.
I thought they were really cool, these resonance watches. I really loved them. One of my favourite brands of the show. So on to Patek.
Yeah, these were just pictures I took of random stuff at the Patek stand, because nothing really jumped out, and I thought everybody likes these things, so I might as well grab some snaps.
That one you're on right now, I really like that one. I'm a massive fan of the courage that Patek have shown with that watch. I think they want 60,000, 70,000 US for that quartz piece of shit.
Yeah.
So you're a fan.
Pete, remember, Pete, you're not buying Patek for yourself. You're buying it for your future generation.
That's right. You never really own one, Pete.
Based on how inflation is at the moment, that is actually the biggest bargain your children will ever receive.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, the whole Patek stand, I was really disappointed with them because those denim strap Aquanauts and Nautiluses.
Thomas, I have to correct you. It's it is to simulate the feel of denim, but it's definitely not denim, because Patek would not lower themselves to actually using denim.
Yeah,
they will use fake denim, but not denim.
But they looked awful, Dave. They just looked terrible.
The nicest watch in their stand actually was the kind of reimagination of the
ellipse. The ellipse
was
amazing.
Absolutely dynamite with that woven gold bracelet. The black onyx dial was stunning.
Yeah, that mesh bracelet was just beautiful. It was the woven mesh bracelet. That was the winner for me for Patek. My winner for me. Yeah.
And Patek are just taking the absolute. Yeah, they're taking the absolute proverbial though when they are they're kind of high end pieces they had and locked in the cabinets is a enamel dial that's a painting of a dude with a surfboard. They're literally taking the absolute piss out of everyone when they're like,
but Dave,
what we're going to do is
notice that the centre pinion where the hands come out are where his junk is. So depending on the time, he rises to the occasion.
He's got a rising or falling inflection depending on how the surf is that day.
Didn't Fossil make that mistake with one of their Mickey Mouse watches last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I've got
Fossil are
that
allowed
somewhere.
to. Fossil are allowed to. I don't think. I don't think a watch that costs more than probably all of our houses put together is allowed to make that mistake.
It just adds
Yeah.
irony.
It does.
Yes,
I can
this-
afford to have
Rachel
bad
watch.
taste.
Dave, take
this
it
is
away.
cool. This is epic. This is, I reckon, Kronoswiss are underreported on, under kind of appreciated for what they are. They're definitely not everyone's aesthetic palette. They are pretty punchy more often than not. Although this year they had a couple of more interesting, what they class as entry level, which, to be fair, at under 10,000 euros or 10,000 Swiss francs is. It's not crazy money, even in the world of big main brands these days. But this was there. I can't even remember. Green Monster. What did they call it? I can't remember exactly what they called it.
The
but
Green Monster.
The Green Monster, yeah. And it's this. They do proper hand done guilloche, and in fact, every year for the last few years, they've had their kind of guilloche bench with them, and they've had their man working on the guilloche pieces in their booth, and they're just such cool funky watches at not ludicrous prices. I think this from memory was under 15,000. I think it was like 14.5, 14.7, something like that, which is a lot of money, but it's not absolutely insane considering it's an in-house movement, it's their own design, it's all a lot of kind of guilloche work and everything else going on in it. Yes, you either love or hate the design and aesthetic, but the quality of it is outstanding.
It's also
that
got
bottom-
a regulator and retrograde built in, and they use a very, I don't know how they do it, but I've never seen this kind of CVD coating on it. And this photo is terrible. Again, the lighting is chronic in there. It's unlike anything you've seen. The way that the coating goes on the guilloche, it doesn't fill in the valleys. It just it goes on perfectly, so the light still shines through, and it's otherworldly. You've got to see these things or have a look at some proper video of it.
Yeah.
I mean, someone
So
in the
that is-
comments has said, they didn't like it because the colours don't work. Again, that's an aesthetic option. You'll either love it or hate it, but you can't knock the quality of it. And they've got other more reserved pieces. As a general rule, they do like a nip of punchy colour in most of their watches. But yeah, I really rate them.
So that bottom register that's like a retrograde seconds readout, like every half minute, or.
So let me get this right. I think the dial at the top is the hours.
Hour.
The big hand
Minute,
is the
and then
minutes, and I
seconds.
think that's a 30-second. Is it a 30-second retrograde? I think it does it twice, doesn't it?
I think so.
Because there's 2 gauges on it, if
Interesting.
I remember rightly. Yeah, but it's really cool.
That is cool.
That's the press area. They actually had an amazing press area this year.
But you could have peace and quiet to upload your stuff. This was one of
Oh,
my standouts.
Van
Love it.
Cleef and Arpels, beautiful.
This
Yeah.
is amazing. Again, it's not a watch I would ever buy or could afford, but I just love crazy mechanical movements and things that you wouldn't expect. And this was executed so well that the wind makes the flowers move, and it's not a staccato movement, it's a very fluid movement, the way that the 3 flowers move. And then you've got the opposing butterflies that rotate round, and the pusher down around about the 7-8 o'clock mark is what you press in, and it charges up a spring that then sets the whole thing in motion. And this is just brilliant. Absolutely loved it. And it's one of the brands that when we sit down, they speak to us, not speaking down to us, but on the level. And they know fine well that most of the journalists that come in don't understand any of this kind of stuff, so they explain it so well to us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's the fact that
Yes.
all the kind of automation completely is aside from the chronometry of the watch itself as well. So as Ricky says, you just push this in and it kind of preloads up a spring, and then as that spring unloads or unwinds, the flowers dance in the wind and the butterflies spin around. It's just exquisitely cool.
They even
looks
gave
really-
away tote bags as well.
So yes, they did.
Way to bring the
Well,
conversation
can you-
down, Thomas.
Thomas, would you like
Can-
a handy hint, Thomas, for next year along with everybody else? Book an
Go on.
appointment at Hermès.
Yes.
You will get 400 to 600 quid's worth of free stuff, allegedly.
Really?
Ask me how I know.
Because Simona stole it all?
Orange boxes. This is
Yep,
what
in this
acquires
big
from
orange
Hermès.
box that Dave is showing, there is a beach towel that allegedly is about 600 quid's worth on their website.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes.
It's truly horrific as well. It's brilliant. It's just so bad that you have to use it.
We can't really hear you, Dave.
It's truly
for
horrific
the
as well.
best.
It's so bad you have to use it.
Nah, this is
There's Del Boy Dave down in Peckham selling beach towels.
I saw
Beach towel, anyone? Beach towel?
Wow. I saw a lot of the Parmigiani Tondas, PF Tondas, and these ones I didn't like the look of, again because of the skeletonizations, and the torics I thought were really nice. The lovely colours on the torics. I'm a fan of the PF Tonda, the Tonda PF, and both the Rattrapant and the normal three-hander. But this one didn't do anything for me.
I listed it and put the picture in here, but I actually just grabbed a whole load of pictures. There was no rhyme or reason. But compared to the other skeletonized movements we talked about, the fact they put a little bit of thought into this, and they have got circles and kind of cutouts instead of just wherever they could. It looks like a little bit of ingenuity has gone in behind the scenes. And then when you look at the backside of it, it's quite similar. So this was cool, and I do love blue coloration to cutouts. That's why the Orage Tourbillon one that I've got with the waffle dial, the blue waffle dial arrangement, I really like, and this is a kind of circular version of it. So
It actually seems as if they've put some thought into the cutouts, so that the cutouts add to the aesthetic of the watch, and that's so unusual. Normally, you just go, "Oh well, this is. I'm going to take away any bit that I can get away with." Here, it looks like I'm going to take away parts and make it look good too. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, there's a sympathy to the cutouts. The cutouts follow the actual shape of most of the bridge pieces, which is kind of generally the idea of skeletonizing it, as opposed to, I think the Chopard, it just looks, because it's essentially one huge plate, they've just chopped holes in it where they can to see what you can see underneath. But I think I quite like this, but I agree with you. Parmigiani had some very cool watches, and they were the much more sanguine and kind of plain ones. The kind of browns and greens that they did were super good.
And you can actually read the time on this one, which is nice.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Oh,
awful.
Hey, there seems to be an echo on your microphone.
Yes, I'm reinforcing how awful this watch is.
We'll just move on. Oh,
moving swiftly on.
The Chopard Alpine Eagle chronograph. Yeah.
I liked this more in the pictures, and then when I put it on the wrist, I still liked it, but it was very chunky. It was like chunky. A very chunky AP, but still, it was one of the better ones they had on display.
I think those dials are hard to photograph because when you see them in photographs, they come off as a cheap dial, but when you see them in person, they look way better.
Yeah, looks like a needle here, and it was better in real life.
Yeah, they do look better in real life.
I think that's one of the problems with the Alpine Eagle is. Oh yes.
Oh, the dial on this is gorgeous, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I spoke to Joe Kirk, who's the US representative for Grand Seiko, and he enlightened me on a lot of the new polished platinum bits in the Kodo that they were using. And then I took a look at this, and this reminds me of the original Godzilla, but it's more orangey, sort of reddy, changes color at different angles, and the sort of circular polished bits on the dial. The circular polishing on the, well, it's not polishing, but the sort, is it? I don't know whether it's a stone or whether it's whether they've polished a bit of material to use for the dial, but it had patterns on it that reflected the light and were just stunning. Absolutely amazing, this watch. I thought beautiful.
I think I love the case shape on this too.
Yeah, I mean, this case shape's been in existence for a few years now. They did the Lion edition, which was both the chronograph and the non-chrono version a couple of years back, which had that kind of brown dial, which actually is the same pattern as this. So it is a standard dial with a patterning on it, but this one, unlike the brown one, definitely has this kind of color flip effect to it, where Ricky's managed to catch it there, pretty orangey, this kind of yellowy into orangey color, but it actually went quite a deep red if you caught it in certain lights as well. So when I saw it, as you said, Thomas, when I saw it in the red look, it felt more like the Godzilla, but then when it went orange, it looks nothing like it.
Yeah.
You can almost see where it says 18 at the bottom of the picture. It's starting to curve where the minute track is, and it's turning pinky red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so this is
cool.
A GMT and chronograph.
Yeah,
and spring drive.
And does the bezel turn, or that's a fixed bezel and going with just the?
It's a
GMT hand?
It's a fixed GMT bezel. So you've got
Okay.
3 GMT time zones you can effectively utilize off of it.
Are they making a 3-hander version of this one like they did the Lions made?
Not that they showed, but I would guess it will probably appear at some point.
and they're giving away tote bags.
More tote bags.
Thomas is going to be opening like a Saturday market stall, isn't it? Tote bags are us.
Tom's car boot sale tote bags are us. Yeah.
Thomas has been hitting the gin early.
Should we ask Thomas what his favourite tote bag was? Did you get one?
Yeah, we should.
The one that got him a
Did you see the
Rolex, I
Cyrus
think.
ones?
I was going to say the one that brings a Rolex.
Yeah.
To be fair, Ricky actually made a beeline. The one reason that Cyrus got an appointment was because they have the best tote bags on the show.
It's like,
this Kodo Constant Force is beautiful. I mean, I think that's what it is. This one.
There's a lot going on there too. It is really pretty.
I think the Kodo, from when it was released a couple of years back, this is probably one of the best examples of, if you really put your mind to advancing kind of chronometry and horology, what you can actually do if you put your mind to it. And they didn't get enough plaudits for this. They got a fair amount of press and coverage, but it kind of died off quite quickly. But this, for what this does and how well it does it, is absolutely outstanding. And the sound of it is just glorious.
Well, check this out, guys. I've got the world's greatest tote bag with me right here, right
Hold
now.
on.
Make me full screen.
Yep.
This is a Cyrus one. And look how beautiful this is inside. Luxurious, padded, different colours. Quality.
Wow!
Look how amazing
Chroma
this is.
green.
Flip it round. Let's get the logo. The metallic logo.
Nice!
Brilliant. Can't beat it. Anyway, back to the show.
You beat me, Ricky. You beat me on my tote bag collection. Oh,
casual tote bag review.
Casual tote bag review.
this.
Here's another kind of
absolutely
crazy mechanism that, again, you
beautiful.
don't want, could never afford, will never get. But it had such a smooth motion when you press the pusher on the side. The skeletonized horse, it's all about skeletons, isn't it? The skeletonized horse and rider kind of kick up on its hind legs. And again, just fantastic work from the guys with the best beach tails.
Yeah, and I mean, the horse's Hermès is sort of icon, isn't it? It's their signature.
Well, Saddle Reyes was one of their kind of first big leather goods kind of foray. But I think Hermès got it very right, and I think they are, for me, they had the best watch of the show, which wasn't anything particularly highbrow or particularly high horology or expensive even. But the thing I love about Hermès is I think you could argue they are one of the very few true luxury brands that still exist, in the sense of, bringing luxury in a way that most of the mainstream luxury brands have just told you it's luxury, but the product's not necessarily as good as you think it is. Hermès make watches like this at ludicrously high price points, and they are very expensive, very well done, super cool. But they also produce some very, very accessible, very good quality watches that most people don't realise they do, and can be accessed at prices in many cases significantly below a lot of the more main high street brands as well. So the little cut that they did, which was their little entry-level stainless steel watch, 36mm, €5,000 price point, comes in a bracelet, come in various rubber straps, quick release, just a cool looking watch at a very kind of attainable price point for most people.
Yeah, I saw the Duke Atele Jarotobian, and I thought that was amazing. But €400,000, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's another of my favourites. Excuse me. And again, you see the shittiness of the lights. Those two white blobs are actually the lights above in the display room. But this is one of the geospheres with the carbon. Oh, I don't know the make or what they call this kind of stuff. It's a carbon composite material they use for the case. It's got zero oxygen. That was a big thing that they were talking about. And it's got a loomed profile on the side with the mountainscape actually burned into the side. I love black, I love blue, I love carbon. This was another one that I quite liked. And Dave, you know a little bit more about the technology behind it because you actually did some research, didn't you?
I did. So yeah, this carbon is one where obviously a lot of the brands are talking about, you know, recycled materials mixed with their carbon, etc. What they've done with this is, I believe it's a company who make a lot of products, and what they do is with the waste material, they take the waste material and then it's used in a system which allows them to effectively capture carbon dioxide, which is then kind of suspended into this material, and then they make the cases out of it. So effectively it's like a carbon lock that they're using to pull carbon back out the system. It has to be said though, it's a little bit of a small way to do it, because watch cases aren't exactly large volume products, so it's not going to be a lot of carbon dioxide trapped in this case. But you know, it's a cool enough technology, but it looks really cool. And this insert on the side, I usually hate with a passion little name plaques. I'd love Norcane. I'd even probably buy a Norcane if it wasn't for the little name plaque on the side of it. Things like that just I don't like. But this one had, and it was smooth to the touch. And it was like the Jura mountain ranges cut into it and then infilled with lume. And at night when you hit it, or you hit it with a UV torch, it glowed in the dark. So it was really quite cool. And I actually really like the Geosphere as well. It's a good looking watch.
It's almost as if the guy that used to work at this company took that idea for his new tourbillon.
I know. Have we seen that tourbillon yet? I think. Well, I don't know. I'm
Maybe
not
a few
sure.
minutes ago, Dave.
Possibly comment. Did we? Oh, there we go.
Oh, this is I think the
Tudor.
next one coming up is some hate here.
Well, I'm not going to give it outright hate, but it was this was my worst of the show pick, and not because it's a bad watch, to be honest with you. You know, the Black Bay is a great watch. I like it. If anything, the only complaint I would generally level at the Black Bay is it's a bit too tall in terms of it's a bit fat. Proportionally, they're all generally really good, but they're generally quite fat. I cannot for the life of me rationalize this. They have brought out a solid 18 karat gold version. Case, bezel, bracelet. It still has your regular Kinesi movement you would expect in the Black Bay, but I believe it's €27,500, which just defies logic to me in that, you know, Tudor are known for producing really good quality, well-priced watches in the marketplace, and this is so out of kilter. And a few folk have said, "Oh well, you know, it's a range topper, it's an aspirational product." I just think it's so far away from anything else Tudor make price-wise. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's a lovely watch. If someone gave me it, I'd take it. I just can't see who within the Tudor portfolio of clients would potentially buy this, other than the one or two who want to show off. But it's like one of these things that's shown off so far out of the range that anyone who buys Tudor knows you're buying it as a value proposition, not as a appendage swinging competition.
Totally agree with you, Dave. I mean, I think are the bracelet links hollow as well, or are they solid?
Don't think I even went into the that far looking. If they're hollow, that makes it even worse, to be honest.
We just took a photo
we didn't
and
even
left.
look at it. you know.
Yeah.
And
You see,
it might be the lighting, but it looks like a bronze. And
It looks like lime
well,
bronze.
you see,
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, you see, they have done. They did this gold bronze mix,
They did
didn't
the- they did
They've
the gold
done it
bronze,
for a
yeah.
few years. Yeah, but they did this gold bronze mix they've used before, which, you know, and I think actually Omega did it as well, which is kind of fine. But, you know, to do a solid gold one, if in fact it is solid gold, I hope it is solid gold bracelet at that price. It blimmin' well should be. But, you know, even like you know, that's Fokker saying in the comment that it's this Halo product. I think if it's just not a Halo product. It's too far above what any other Tudor sells for to be a Halo product.
It's like a
It
solid
kind of-
gold G-Shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And look how much.
But they do make
you know, kind of,
solid gold G-Shocks, and they do make that. There was that solid gold Doxa, and I just think this
but
is.
they made one solid gold G-Shock and they sold it at an auction. That in itself, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
This is though a production watch, and when they presented it, it wasn't presented as a Halo product. They literally on the screen went, okay, we've got this new one, this new one, this new one, and this new one. And this was just one of the new watches. There was no razzmatazz. There was no, this is a headliner, this is a Halo product. We don't really expect to sell this. It was just thrown in as if it's another watch in the Tudor range, as if no one should think anything twice of it.
It's one of those like the pink Tudor though that just came out. That's supposedly only for like the football team, quote unquote, soccer team here in the U.S. I was talking to a gentleman at the Bucherer store, and he said that really there are only going to be 10 allocated for the entire country of the United States. So again, it's one of those products that maybe gets people to walk in the door like this, and you're never going to see it probably.
But I get that, right? So love or hate the pink one. I personally love it.
I do too.
That's a Halo product. Yeah. It's a product that sits within the price point, within the sphere of what Tudor is as a product and who it's aiming it at. And you have to fight hard if you want to get one. But at the end of the day, it's a £5,500 watch in the UK. It's the same price as the other chronographs. It's just a really difficult one to get.
Yeah.
And you see, there you go. Comment, I would totally pick that up when it gets discounted to half price. Correct. If they had launched it and it was 15 or 16 grand, I would have understood it. I don't understand it at 27 and a half.
It's a big ask. What do we have here?
Yes.
We have a Moser that was embargoed and then came off embargo by the time our podcast went out in video, so everything is cool. This was to celebrate their collaboration with the Alpine F1 team, and this got announced, the collaboration, about 2.5 months ago, and this is kind of the first thing I think we've seen since then, and we obviously got to have a quick look at it over in Geneva, and I thought it was absolutely stunning.
That's a cool watch.
Yeah, and they obviously did the skeletonized tourbillon in the Streamliner case, which was released just before the show. This is a skeletonized tourbillon, but this is their vertical tourbillon as well. So this is a even more premium version of the tourbillon that they've previously released. I don't know. I never quite got to the bottom of if you are actually going to be able to buy one, or whether these are merely being produced for the Formula One team, or whether maybe they're for the team and a tiny number of VIP clients. But yeah, it's a pretty cool watch.
That was me stealing ideas on how to do lighting properly for video. Just ignore that.
Fair enough. All right, we've been through all of the pictures that were sent over kindly from Ricky, and we've taken up a lot of time. So I'm going to go ahead and let Pete share with us your favorite and least favorite from the show.
My favorite from the show was the Zenith Defy Extreme Diver. Thomas asked for one of these. I didn't think Zenith should do a dive watch, but they did it, and they did something interesting that doesn't put me to sleep, that I really like. So I really like that watch. Least favorite. I don't really think in terms of least favorites, but as much as I don't want to kick them, I will say the Bremonts. I just don't think they failed in that. I don't think they're going to hit their mark. Whatever it was that Bremont was trying to do with those watches, I don't think they've achieved it.
But
So
you
whether
saying
I like
that
it or
as
not
a
is kind of beside the
collector?
point.
Are you saying that as an enthusiast, a collector, or potentially somebody that walks in off the street? We've had this debate back and forward a bit, and you've seen everything online about Bremont. This is terrible. It's shocking. They've totally upended things. They've changed their logo, their design, their releases, etc., etc. But people don't seem to realise they were about to go bust, allegedly, and they needed
Oh
to try
yeah.
something.
No, I kind of get that, and no, I kind of, I'm not. Unlike a lot of people, I think there's a lot of people enjoying the sport of kicking Bremont, and I'm definitely not doing that. And if Bremont are changing their direction so far that they're going to become a very mainstream, very mall, carried by lots of people and selling these watches, and they can pull that off, hey, all power to you. Congratulations. I was wrong. It's just a weird. If they can pull that off, and if I'm completely wrong, then so be it. But in terms of an enthusiast looking at this watch, they're not. It's almost like they were set up as the anti-Christopher Ward. Christopher Ward was value. Everything is for the price. Christopher Ward was for your classic watch geek who can add up a spreadsheet and tally up what things should cost. And Christopher Ward came under some number. And
I'm
that's
feeling
your
very
watch.
guilty now, Pete.
Whereas Bremont is, there's that horrible expression, affordable luxury, but they sold themselves as luxury. Price didn't really matter. The price was always punchy. They never tried to tell you that it was good value. They never tried to tell you that you were getting a spec monster. It was just a really good watch. Here's the price, pay it or don't. And I feel like they're now trying to go from that to value. And I don't know if that's going to work.
They have effectively committed what in political circles is known as a U-turn. For the last X number of years, they have pushed super hard about we are not entry level, we are luxury. And they, love them or hate them, they made a nice product. You can argue all day long that their value proposition wasn't strong, but their value proposition wasn't any worse than the vast majority of high street brands from the big brands, whether we're talking, Omega, IWC, Tudor, all of these guys. None of their value propositions particularly adds up if you play the Christopher Ward spreadsheet game on them. They don't. You're buying a name and you're buying a marketing value. That's and a nice product to boot. But they got kicked hard for something that wasn't really fair previously. It didn't work for them. They then tried to push upmarket. They wanted that in-house movement. They'd wanted an in-house movement forever. They wanted to do it to try and justify why their watches were more expensive. Unfortunately, they miscalculated, and the in-house movement made their watches even more expensive without having the kudos of those independents. And suddenly there was a dawning realization when the bank manager waggles his finger and says, you guys have got a big problem. And it was a rapid about turn, and they've thrown themselves back at the opposite end, and they've had to do it so quickly that to me, it looks like a rush job. They've rushed to do the rebrand in terms of logo, in terms of the font, in terms of the relaunch, in terms of the product itself, in terms of the design of the product, in terms of the manufacture of the product. But they were so heavily under the cosh, they had no option but to do it really quickly. And that's possibly what's going to bite them.
And I know there was a lot
too.
of fuss in the the Bremont community, but the Bremont community didn't make them a success. You've got to reach out to somebody new.
Correct.
And whether we like them or not, and they're not my favorite Bremonts, but I really hope it works because I want them to survive.
I hope it works.
I hope it works.
Let's be very clear. I hope it works.
Yeah.
I just, like Dave said, I just feel like everything's
rushed.
too rushed and nothing's quite got the polish it would need. But, with a bit of luck.
I think, here's where I think their biggest mistake in the whole rebrand is they are relying on their AD network and their retailers to carry them, because that is their primary route to market at the end of the day, right? And the big problem they've got here is all those ADs are either sitting scratching their head saying what just happened there, because you've gone from this area, this product to this product, and they either don't fit into the profile of that AD anymore because they've got too cheap for them or they've got too different for them. They should have pulled their whole AD network. They should have gone direct only, and they should have gutted their price even lower than where they are because they don't need to factor in a retail margin, and gone direct. And if some of those watches were, instead of 2.5, let's say 1,500 to 1,750, and you bought them direct, they would probably suddenly appeal to a much wider audience than they currently do.
Yeah, I'm reminded of, and that need for speed that you're talking about, Dave, I think is the problem. I'm sort of doing some thinking, and over the last couple of years, last decade or so, there's been about 4 or 5 brands I can think of that have made these sorts of U-turns. And generally they do one of two things. So a big one we've spoken about already, Tudor, going nowhere, adrift. So what do? They essentially go dark for 2 years, at least in the West. Go dark for a couple of years, create a space, and then relaunch. Formex did something similar in the micro brand area. Formex were just another AD, shitty low end Swiss brand. They realize they're going nowhere. They go dark for 2 or 3 years, take themselves off the market, cut all their, exactly what you're talking about, Dave. They got rid of all their ambassadors. They got rid of all their AD network. They went full micro brand. And they're doing really well now. And the other option would be, which I don't think was open to Bremont, which is the George Kern Breitling one, where the new management turns on and savages the old management and just says, they were a bunch of clowns. We're taking it in a whole new direction. And I think and all of those take time.
Yeah. Well, the time isn't necessarily the problem. The problem is money. Tudor can afford to do it because Big Brother is extremely rich.
Yeah, exactly.
And therefore, that's never a problem. Formex, the structure changed there. And again, there is people behind that brand that have the luxury of having enough money to do that. And again, some of the other brands, Kern came into Breitling with money. The one thing, sadly, that appears to not be the case is Bremont don't have the reserves. Yes, they've got the investment they got a couple of years ago, but doesn't look like any more has come through. And I think there is a real financial duress pressure being applied, which is what's made them do what they do. I really do hope they survive. I own some Bremont watches. I like Bremont. There's really nice people work for that brand. And, you don't want to see anything hard come by it. But I horribly hate to think there seems to be too little, too late, too quickly.
And real quick, we're going to do flash round because we're almost out of time. Mark, we talked about the one you loved. We didn't talk about the one you hated, and it's going to be a hot topic, your hate one. So put it out there.
The one I loved was the IWC Eternal Calendar, because any watch that makes me reach for a calculator has got to be the star of the show. There are so many assumptions in 45 million years, I dread to think. But I did reach for a calculator and tried to do some of the calculations. And I love a watch that makes me do that. My least favorite was the Black Bay Monochrome. Why? There's nothing wrong with it. Tudor make a good watch. We all know that. Why did it get the excitement when it's a line extension at most? It should have been a paragraph. It should not have been multiple pages on multiple websites. There's nothing wrong with it. It has the usual Tudor faults. Why they can't afford to do a brushed ceramic bezel, I don't know, because $500 micro brands can do a better bezel than Tudor can. But it's a steaming pile of tedium, and it got so much attention. And the sad part is, I think it's going to win a prize at GPHG at the end of the year, simply because it's a Tudor. That why?
goes without saying.
Me and Dave will go the opposite way for you.
We'll be the 2 out of the 18.6 million votes that say, nah, it shouldn't win. Which will promptly get us ejected from the GPHG.
Yeah, that's Mark. Everything you just said there inspired my little bit of poetry in the WhatsApp about
steaming pile of tedium. Please move on.
You get this, and as an outsider looking in, there's this real sense of dissonance when you get everyone being really excited about something you feel really tedious. And you begin to wonder, is there an agenda playing out here? Is there something wrong? I don't understand why people are so excited over something which is so intrinsically dull.
And, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a marketing target of launching 5 watches or however many it was at Watches and Wonders. That's fine. You know, that's how business works. But the excitement it generated, oh, please stop it.
It's like going to a motor show and coming back and saying, you know what, there was lots of great stuff there, but what really got the pulse racing was the Toyota Camry and the Honda CR-V.
Yeah.
It's
at the bottom. It's one of those things. I think that, and again, I'm an unabashed Tudor fan, and I know that the fight I constantly have is Tudor's never going to be Rolex. But a bunch of Tudor guys said, "Oh man, I finally got a Rolex Submariner, and I can afford it, and I can get one." And that's, I think, where the excitement comes from with this watch.
And
it looks just like a Rolex Submariner, though.
And in 6 months' time, when they realize it's not a Rolex Submariner, it'll be on Chrono 24 at a huge discount, like happens every year.
It's actually not
for 2,500.
It's not 6 months; it's now. I've got I do a podcast with a mate he's a big flipper. Lots of watches come in, lots of watches go out. He was in the Tudor boutique today or yesterday, and got the story that they had someone buy one yesterday at full whack, thinking that, like most Tudors, they have that little premium at the beginning. Sold it the same day at $1,000 US discount.
Yep.
So they have that Chrono 24 that you're talking about. That's happening now, 24 hours after release.
But
I've never paid full whack for a Tudor.
Yeah, people are misreading the market as well, though, because the early days, the days of Tudors selling at a premium. Tudor have also tried, to be fair to them, every time they've launched a watch recently, there's been a reasonable amount of stock available at ADs for people who really want one quite quickly, and they restock them within a week without worrying about it.
And that's great. That's good for everybody.
They've made a conscious effort to actually make the watches more available, so that's a good thing for them, and it's actually a good thing that they don't end up getting this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 month boost in price on Chrono 24, because it's ridiculous.
Well, any last thoughts from anybody? I think we've filled up the hour and about time to wrap it up. Nope?
Yeah, I found it very hard to choose. I love the Island and Sun Longitude collection, the Nomos Tangente date, the Chopard Promenades, the Zenith Revival like Pete did, the Chopard Quattro Spirit, but I was most taken by the Trilobe Le Matino Le Exquisite, I think
what
is
an
the name.
Exquisite French pronunciation there, Thomas. You will definitely make it into the French lyricist charts.
Totally butchered that, yeah. And,
you know they're putting in arrest warrants for you now, Thomas, don't you? the whole nation of France is putting out an arrest warrant. That was worse than Dave.
No, I dare say that can't be played in France. They've probably got a filter that stops things like that actually being
just
heard.
Automatic subtitles and silence.
There's women weeping in the corner.
And, sharpening their guillotines.
Yeah, the worst.
Madame la guillotine is being sharpened as we speak.
The worst for me was all the skull-sized watches, including the Alpine Eagle and the Streamliner. I just don't do skull-sized at all. The Patek denim strap note to the Snaquanaut and the other just watch, I can't remember which one it was. The Rolex black and grey GMT in the deep sea, blinged out Daytonas, the Tudor black bay like we've highlighted already, the traffic light coloured Hublots, the lazy Oris Aquis, and the monotonous range of Panerais, which they brought about 12 for the Luna Rossa racing team. But the one I really hated was the Tag Heuer Rattrapant. Just
the Monaco
the
Rattrapant.
The Monaco. Yeah, really. I love the Monaco. It's a lovely watch, but just didn't do anything for me at all. The Rattrapant. No.
On that note, every watch brand now hates this channel, and that's fantastic. Thank you for that, Thomas.
Sam is going to be so pleased with us. That'll teach him to go to work, won't it?
Thanks to the channel in one evening. Well done. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you for everybody being so active in the comments. We will see you again next week.
Give us a thumbs up, guys. Okay.
Thank you all.